hope you guys are doing well. It's time for my review of episode 10 of House of the Dragon, The Black Queen. As you can tell, I'm not at home, so this one is not going to be scripted. I'll just talk about the things that I want to talk about. You can expect a full season review in the upcoming days. Definitely subscribe so you don't miss that one. Okay, so the episode opens up with Rhaenys arriving at Dragonstone and telling both Daemon and Rhaenyra that Viserys has died. I like the scene by itself, but of course, with the ending of the last one, I wish we would have gotten a scene of Rhaenyra questioning Rhaenys' acts here. Because this is kind of last week's episode's problem, I won't go over it again, but yeah, I'm not a fan of Rhaenys killing those innocents, and I wish it would have mattered here. Anyways, we cut to the scene of Rhaenyra having a miscarriage, Visenya, and I gotta say, Emma Darcy is phenomenal here. That is definitely the best performance all throughout the episode, and it's definitely their best performance in the show yet. I was kind of expecting that baby to have wings, but then again, it was so brutal. It was brutal enough. Just that entire feel from Rhaenyra, hearing about Viserys' death, from hearing about Aegon's coronation, and then this miscarriage, it really set the tone for this episode. It was very dark, but it was really well played and directed. While all of this is happening, Daemon, of course, ignores her. He is already preparing for the war. He takes over for a moment, and I really liked the scene of him and Jace outside with Caraxes. I think that was very well done. We got a lot of beautiful dragon sequences in this episode, but we'll talk more about Daemon and ignoring her later on in this video. The first few scenes of this episode really feel clunky, like it feels like something's missing, and that is very much apparent when we get to the scene of Daemon crying at the beach. We know for sure that we had other shots as well, like he was going into the water, he fell over, and we had leaked photographs of this, and I would have preferred to see this in the episode. I think it really would have helped to show how Daemon feels, where he's at right now. Later on, and once again we're going to talk about it in just a second, it becomes very clear that he is in pain, that he's not fully there yet, and I would have preferred to see him having this moment and just him not being this badass character just for once, and let the guy show some emotions. But yeah, anyways, we then transfer to the coronation scene, and I think that was extremely well done. I really liked how the music came in. As always, of course, Ramin Djawadi is just a genius. He always manages to make the peak of those scenes. For example, in this one, when Daemon puts the crown on Rhaenyra's head, like when the music kicks in, it's just so good, and it just makes the scene 1,000 times better. We then of course get our very first scene at the painted table when it's fully lit up, and man, from Rhaenyra walking into the main hall and that whole thing lighting up, that was just very beautiful visually, and I think this episode is the best episode in terms of visuals. It's very beautiful. We of course also finally hear about the Starks, about the Tullys, about House Arryn. They're all gonna come in season 2. I think especially Cregan Stark, they're gonna really expand on the Pact of Ice and Fire. That's something to look forward to. Finally seeing Winterfell again, that's definitely gonna make for a great reunion. And then we come to the parallel scene at the bridge, and it was so funny when I watched it because, man, just see for yourself.
He's gonna drop Mummer's farce again.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
Daemon say it this time, actually. Let Daemon say it.
Words are with Daemon. Right on the money, but it was a bit weird. Because from fucking traitor, fuck is this, to Mummer's farce, it's a bit of a stretch, but nothing I get hung over with. I really like that they included Alicent's page, like the page Rhaenyra ripped out in one of the early episodes. That I liked the relationship between Alicent and Rhaenyra. I keep repeating myself, I know that, but I really think making Alicent younger was a great decision. And I have no problems with them being a condensed version of the characters that we got in Fire and Blood. I don't have a problem with that at all, because it really leaves room open for that to come, you know? With them having that friendship, with them being so close. And now with Alicent already being a killer. Remember, she killed those servants in the last episode. And the very last look on Rhaenyra's face in this episode. It's gonna come. We're gonna get those reckless versions that we all loved in Fire and Blood. And sure, I totally hear you if you already wanted to see a reckless version of Alicent, for example, because you wanted her to really push the war. Eventually, we are gonna reach a point where they are both reckless, they are both not whitewashed anymore, and they are very much capable of doing dark things. So, and then let's talk about Daemon choking Rhaenyra. I've seen a lot of takes on the internet already. Lots of people are pissed. I'm probably gonna get a lot of shit for what I'm about to say. Who could have known that the guy who killed his first innocent wife would be a shitty husband? Imagine my shock, because he's such a good guy. No, he's not. I saw people talking about character assassination and how it's similar to Daenerys in season 8, but they're already doing it in season 1, and man, that's where you just lose me. This stuff is all subjective, but in my opinion, that's just reactionary. Daemon's love for Rhaenyra and Laena was always stuff for discussion, and I always tended to believe that while, yes, he did love both women in his own fucked up way, I still think furthering his own position and trying to gain influence very much played a part in both marriages. I think that whole choking stuff was about two things. One, we spent a lot of time on Daemon seeing Viserys as weak, disgusted him. And in that moment, he definitely saw his brother Viserys in Rhaenyra when she was considering peace. And he also probably realizes in that very moment that his brother never truly considered him to be his true heir to the Iron Throne, because he never talked about this prophecy. This definitely must have stung. And I think he's playing it off, and then he flips because he's a very insecure man. To me, Daemon is an ambitious, a dangerous, and insecure man. I think that scene definitely made sense. I think it made perfect sense, and that's how I envisioned Daemon, actually. I totally respect your opinion. If you see it otherwise, tell me down below. Let's have a discussion about it. But this whole love about his family and it's his one redeeming quality, I don't buy into that, because I don't think it's that easy. I think there are many things that make him into the great character that he is, both good and bad. It's not just his family for the good side and he can do whatever atrocities and it kind of evens out. No, I don't think it's as easy as that. Anyways, we do get another scene of Corlys, and I'm so glad we got to see him in this episode. I'm not a fan of how House of the Dragon handled House Velaryon in this season. I think they could have done so much more. Rhaenys and Corlys are both some of my favorite characters in this entire story, and we barely got to know them in this season. I wanted Corlys to talk about his voyages. Just imagine the sort of stories this man could tell. And I'm kind of shocked that the writers didn't seem to think that it was necessary to build upon this legendary man to really tell a few tales. And it wouldn't even have to be much. But what do we know of the guy? Other than he's very ambitious and that he's pissed that his wife never got to sit on the Iron Throne. If you would know nothing about Fire and Blood, if you would know nothing about Corlys, and this is just a character that is on the sidelines, and it could be a character that could really add to the story, and I hope it's gonna come in season 2. I hope we get something. I hope he finally talks about his goddamn voyages. So much world building. I'm a sucker for that. The possibilities are endless. Just imagine him talking about Ashai. That would be incredible. The same thing goes for Rhaenys. Apart from her being the queen who never was, she never really was allowed to be her own character. It started off very promising. I absolutely love that scene she had with young Rhaenyra. I think it was in episode 2. That was a very good scene. It was very promising, but I didn't really like how they portrayed her in the following episodes, let alone that whole dragon pit stuff, but not today. So okay, enough ranting about the scene itself. It was good actually, finally. They don't blindly follow Rhaenyra, and that is something that immediately makes them stand on their own. And that is something that you can look forward to. I hope we get way more of that in season 2, and we shall see if that's the case. They definitely have the right actors for it. Both Steve Toussaint and Eve Best are phenomenal. I also really like the scene between Daemon and Vermithor. That was definitely something entirely new. Him singing to the dragon, him telling him that he's gonna have a rider. There was a lot of focus on dragon bonds in this episode, which is very interesting, and I think they might set up something very interesting for the upcoming seasons. Something that could really help make the TV versions of the dragons more than just fire-breathing nuclear weapons. Season 2 is probably going to really expand on the Dragon Seeds plot and turn that into a couple of episodes, show that in multiple episodes. I think Ryan Condal already said that pace for season 2 is going to be slower. That's a great thing. So let's talk about the scene that I've been waiting for all season long. Lucerys, Boremund Baratheon, and Aemond at Storm's End, and in turn, of course, Shipbreaker Bay. As a very big House Baratheon fan, I loved the fact that we got to see Storm's End. Not only did we get to see Storm's End, It was during a storm, which just fit perfectly. I also liked how grim it was inside the round hall. It was very fitting for that scene. Roger Evans is a great choice for Boremund Baratheon. Once again, Ewan Mitchell as Aemond Targaryen is just a match made in heaven. I love the way he just burst out at Luke, and the way the camera focused on Aemond from quite a distance, and still you could feel the terror. Like, even though he was so far away and Luke was surrounded by knights, you could still feel the terror, and I like that because it transferred onto the screen and in turn to us viewers. At least for me, it worked very well. The same goes for the fight above Shipbreaker Bay, although it's probably more like bullying above Shipbreaker Bay. The way that looked was just out of this world. I think this really was the most beautiful dragon scene we ever got. I can't think of a dragon scene that would be better. Just that one shot of Vhagar's shadow lurking over Arax, that was just out of this world. Like the terror, that was just beautiful. Like the way it looked was amazing. And then again, let's not dance around on this topic. It was all an accident. And I gotta say, I'm very mixed. I still don't know how I really feel about that. Once again, they focused a lot on the bond of the Targaryens to their riders, and I really liked that because again, it could set up something very interesting. We could really expand on that, and it could make the TV version so much better. But sacrificing this moment is just a bit disappointing. Aemond is one of my favorite characters, and I would have preferred him actually killing Luke out of pure rage, out of revenge, out of spite, out of hate. Sure, one could make the argument that Fire and Blood is a biased book. I've made that argument a couple of times now, so I get it. So let's just leave it at me preferring it the way we thought it was gonna go down. Once again, however, I don't think this ruins Aemond's character. He's already very layered, which I'm very grateful for. In contrast to his piece of shit brother Aegon II, it's very refreshing. We're gonna have 4 seasons. He can still develop into a darker character, and who knows, maybe he's gonna go around being all cocky about killing Luke, even though it was an accident. He might claim that it was not an accident, that he killed him on purpose. So yeah, but still, I'm very much mixed. I don't know how I should feel about this one. We will see in the upcoming seasons. That one's gonna take a while. If this was sacrificed for a bigger plot about the dragons, then we shall see if it makes up for it. But right now, once again, I definitely would have preferred him killing him out of hate. So, all in all, Episode 10 is a decent, pretty good episode. And visually, I think this was the most beautiful episode of the season, if not one of the best we've ever seen from the Westeros franchise. Despite a lot of people going psycho right now, I really like Daemon in this episode. I like the characterization of Daemon in this episode. That is how I envisioned him. That's not how I expect him to be all the time though. I just think he flipped in that moment, and for me, that just made perfect sense. Can't say the same thing about Aemond. I don't know how to feel about it. The direction they're going could be interesting, but then again, we'll have to wait and see. I give episode 10 of House of the Dragon a 7 out of 10. That is all I have for today. Thank you all very much for listening to me all season long. I hope you enjoyed these reviews. Feel free to subscribe. We'll very much appreciate that. And until then, take care and see you later.